because I was born with red and green birthmarks that scared my mother unconscious. And in the royal family, twins who are not a dragon phoenix pair are considered an omen of misfortune. Only one of the same-sex twins is allowed to remain in the imperial palace, while the other must be sent to a place of bitter cold, forbidden from ever marrying or bearing children. So my mother singled me out to be sent away, even though I could have been the one to stay. Before I was taken away, the emperor insisted on seeing me once. Bring the child here. Let us see just how terrifying her birthmarks are, to be able to scare consort Shu unconscious. Is that my royal father who has come? How could these beautiful birthmarks of mine be scary? Besides, these birthmarks serve a great purpose. The emperor paused as he took me into his arms. The soft, milky child's voice nearly made Lin Chenye drop me. Lin Chenye raised his gaze and asked Eunuch Yan beside him in a calm voice. Did you hear something? Eunuch Yan was clearly taken aback, replying to your majesty. This servant heard nothing, looking at me in the swaddling clothes. Emperor Zongwen thought he was truly the son of heaven, to actually be able to hear his daughter's inner voice. My royal father is indeed dashing and handsome, and exceptionally heroic. I waved my little hands and feet around. As I moved, Emperor Zongwen clearly saw the green and red birthmarks on my body. This child's sense of aesthetics seems to have a serious problem. The birthmarks on the left side are all green, and they are all red on the right. It is extremely strange. Even if she is a princess, marriage will be a major problem when she grows up. I didn't expect consort Shu, who is usually foolish, to make the right choice this time. She'll never be able to get married like this. It is perfect to send her away to spend her life accompanied by an oil lamp and an ancient Buddha. Emperor Zongwen was deep in thought about where it would be most appropriate to send this daughter, when he felt a flash of green pass before his eyes. He felt a sting on his face. He had just been slapped in the face. Before he could even react, he heard the little person in his arms speak again. As long as I touch them with my green hand, I can know all the merits and flaws of their entire life. Hurry, let me see what kind of person my royal father is. Ah, what a pity. Such a hard-working emperor who cares for his people, to have such a short life. How dare you? You dare call me short-lived? Eunuch Yan. Take him away. Send him to the great desert. He is never to return to the palace. As you command. Ah, how did I end up being exiled to the frontier? I don't want to go to the desert. Even though I don't have many years left to live, but since I'm here anyway, let me at least experience life as a princess. Eunuch Yan took me from him, seeing me flailing my arms and legs, and wailing at the top of my lungs. He found it quite annoying. An infant whom the emperor dislikes is not worth his careful attention. Eunuch Yan gripped me tightly with one hand, and tried to cover my mouth with the other. His movements were brutal. Suddenly, a flash of green appeared before his eyes, and I slapped him right in the face. Ouch! What kind of baby is this? Why is she so strong? That actually hurt. The eunuch glared at me in his arms with malicious eyes. You little brat. Once we're out of the emperor's sight, I'll see how I make you pay. I was terrified by the eunuch's wicked look, and forgot to cry for a moment. Once my brain processed the information on his scroll, I shouted at the emperor on the throne, Daddy Emperor, save me. This eunuch is a bad person. He is pinching me. I've only been born for half a day, and he actually has the heart to do this. Daddy Emperor, he is not a real eunuch. He still has his little bird. His strings of fate are even connected to your concubines. Emperor Zongwen had not intended to pay me any more mind, but he perked up his ears when he heard about the little bird. Surely that bird doesn't mean what he thinks it means, right? He is cheating on you. The tea you drink every day is also spiked by him. Upon hearing this, Emperor Zongwen could no longer sit still. Wait, bring the child back. Emperor Zongwen called out to stop Eunuch Yan, who was about to leave. Daddy, don't throw me away. I'll be very good. Returning once more to Emperor Zongwen's arms, I clung to the emperor's robes for dear life, crying as loudly as I could, trying to use my pathetic appearance to awaken a father's love in an emperor. This tactic actually worked a little bit. Emperor Zongwen is 30 years old this year, and has only 2 sons so far. The eldest son is 10 years old, and the youngest is 5. The one in his arms is his newborn daughter. Don't cry. Quickly go to the Imperial Hospital and summon Li Zhen. See what is wrong with the princess. Why does she keep crying? Emperor Zongwen was incredibly annoyed by the child's crying, but he still wanted to hear what else this child might have to say. When Li Zhen arrived, what he saw was the emperor, dressed in his dragon robes, carefully holding and coaxing the infant in the great hall. Seeing the imperial physician arrive, he hurriedly handed off the hot potato in his arms. Quickly check why the princess keeps crying. Is she feeling unwell? The physician stays. Everyone else leave. Eunuch Yan, who was standing to the side, didn't move. Usually he wouldn't need to withdraw in a situation like this. He is a man the emperor trusts. Eunuch Yan. You leave too. Eunuch Yan was taken aback, but despite his confusion, he immediately acted upon the order, bowed, and withdrew. The physician placed his hand on my exposed left wrist, unable to help but sigh inwardly. Having practiced medicine for so many years and never seen such a green birthmark, my green hand touched the physician, and the scroll activated automatically. What a truly good person. A doctor with a heart of gold, saving lives and healing wounds. Truly a physician of the state. Your Majesty, the little princess isn't crying because of an illness. It seems the little princess has just wet herself. The doctor had touched a handful of urine. The child was uncomfortable from being soaked. How could she not cry? Oh my. How embarrassing. An infant just can't hold it in. She drank too much goat milk earlier, so naturally there was a lot of urine. Emperor Zongwen was also very embarrassed. He looked at the wet stain on his hand. He had mistaken it for sweat. He had actually touched urine. Today has truly been an eye-opener. I've been slapped in the face and covered in urine to boot. This little one certainly has some nerve. After washing his hands, Emperor Zongwen looked at the doctor and said, Li Shizhen, did you bring your poison testing tools? I did. Your servant has brought silver needles. Check if there is anything wrong with the food on the table, as you command. This was no small matter. Li Shizhen quickly took out his tools and inspected everything carefully. He left no suspicious spot unchecked. However, the more he inspected, the more uneasy Li Shizhen felt. He had checked everything, but found no problems at all. Beads of sweat rolled down his face. A quarter of an hour later, replying to your majesty, this old servant is incompetent. I could not find anything. Of course he couldn't find anything. The fake eunuch isn't stupid. How would he dare to poison the food so brazenly? The fake eunuch is like a toad. It might not bite, but it sure is disgusting. Anything my emperor father likes to eat. He has spit on it all. That damned Eunuch Yan. I'll have him executed by 1,000 cuts. I will have him sliced to death. Emperor Zongwen, seated on the dragon throne, threw his teacup in a fit of rage. This terrified imperial physician Li, who was kneeling on the floor. Your Majesty, please spare my life. It is due to my own incompetence. Li Jizhen knelt before the throne, his hands hanging limp. His body was trembling uncontrollably. Emperor Zongwen was not a monarch who killed the innocent indiscriminately. He gave a wave of his hand, dismissing Li Jizhen. You may go. You know what should and should not be said, don't you? I do, your majesty. Your servant takes his leave. That wretched Eunuch Yan. He not only slept with his women, but even dared to spit in his food. He couldn't think about it anymore. If he kept thinking, he would vomit. Emperor Zongwen looked down at me as I slept soundly. He was now certain that I was not an omen of misfortune, but a lucky star sent by the heavens to protect Tianqi. Watching Eunuch Yan walk in, Emperor Zongwen narrowed his eyes dangerously. The moment Eunuch Yan entered, he saw the look the emperor was giving him. It was as if the emperor wanted to kill him. To serve a king is like serving a tiger. He assumed it was because he had made the little princess cry earlier, angering the emperor. Your Majesty, this servant is guilty. I frightened the princess. Please, your Majesty, punish me. Seeing that Eunuch Yan knew his place, Emperor Zongwen did not hold back, immediately erupting in a display of temper. Get out. Do not come back in until I summon you. Emperor Zongwen told himself to endure. He must not alert the enemy until he found the mastermind behind it all. He needed to find out as soon as possible which consort dared to cuckold him. He would wipe out her entire clan. Emperor Zongwen carried me as he paced around the palace hall, trying to soothe me while calming his own anger. Once he had calmed down, he saw that I had fallen asleep in his arms. Now composed, Emperor Zongwen began to ponder. Those with the power to place Eunuch Yan by his side. There are only a few in the entire harem. Little princess, can't you see the red strings? Then let the little princess follow the red strings to find out. See who is daring enough to do this. Eunuch Shi passed down an imperial decree. A palace banquet will be held in 1 hour. To celebrate the birth of my daughter, all imperial concubines must attend. The families of those ranked imperial noble consort and above must also attend. Invite a few of the more prominent civil and military officials as well. The quiet throne room was suddenly broken by the shrill cry of an infant. So hungry, I need to be fed, and my bottom is so cold. To have regressed to an age where I can't even control my own bowels. This is truly pathetic. Emperor Zongwen's mouth twitched uncontrollably. His little daughter was certainly blunt. Simone, the little princess is awake. Attend to the princess and change her clothes. The palace maids filed in one after another. They carried me off to the side chamber. A moment later, the sound of me crying loudly came from the chamber. The wailing was deafening. Are you bullying me because I can't speak? Which heartless person is pinching me? With a loud bang, the side chamber door was kicked wide open by Emperor Zongwen. He stormed in, radiating an aura of murderous rage. The Emperor's livid expression sent all the maids in the room to their knees. Even I, who had been crying non-stop, smartly quieted down. Emperor Zongwen walked straight over to me. He found several crescent-shaped marks on my inner thigh. Look at my thigh, those are fingernail marks. They are fingernail marks. Who gave you the nerve? Who gave you the nerve? Drag them out and beat them to death. Who gave you the nerve? Daring to pinch the princess. Drag them out and beat them to death. Who gave you the nerve? Drag them out and beat them. Drag them out and beat them. Your Majesty, have mercy. Your Majesty, have mercy. Your Majesty. It was He Wanqing who pinched the princess. Your Majesty, have mercy. Eunuch Shi, who followed the emperor inside, saw the confusion on his face. He quickly stepped forward to explain. Your Majesty, this He Wanqing is the daughter of the Minister of Revenue. The daughter of the Minister of Revenue. How very grand of her. Send He Wanqing back. Tell Minister He that I have no use for his daughter. Take the others out and execute them by flogging. The palace maids tried to beg for mercy, but the guards who entered covered their mouths and dragged them away. I was terrified. They were just executed like that. I was only pinched a few times. How could this cost several people their lives? Father Emperor, please don't kill them. I don't hurt anymore. I really don't. She only pinched me lightly. Wei, please, spare them. Emperor Zongwen did not grant my wish to spare the maids from execution, but seeing how obviously frightened I was, Emperor Zongwen sighed, as if talking to himself, and also as if explaining to me, my daughter, you were born into the imperial family. You may be kind, but you cannot be too kind. That will cost you your life. Besides, imperial authority must not be defied. They were the ones at fault. He Wanqing being sent home like this won't necessarily end any better than those maids who were beaten to death. Aside from He Wanqing, the other maids aren't innocent. Knowing full well that He Wanqing was disrespectful to the princess, yet failing to stop her makes them equally guilty. Meanwhile, the palace banquet has been going on for an hour, hasn't it? Why hasn't the emperor arrived yet? Keep your voice down. Don't you see the empress's face? It is dark enough to wring water from it. She is just a princess born to a concubine. Even when the empress gave birth to the crown prince, it wasn't this extravagant. I heard the emperor hasn't shown up yet, because the princess hasn't woken up from her nap. For the sake of an infant, making so many important officials wait here, it is completely ridiculous. Sheesh, what are you talking about? If you have a death wish, don't drag us down with you. Just then, head eunuch Shi walked into the grand hall and announced loudly to the crowd, His Majesty has arrived. Emperor Zongwen personally carried me and sat on the throne, surveyed the crowd in the hall with majesty, and spoke slowly, I have kept you all waiting. Today I am blessed with a beautiful daughter. This is the little princess. I am very fond of her. Congratulations to your majesty. Our congratulations to your majesty on the birth of the princess. Good, good, all good. Everyone, please begin the banquet. Emperor Zongwen looked down at me, still listless in his arms, recalling how exceptionally bright the crown prince was at birth, and how he loved things that sparkled. Eunuch Yan, I recall. The envoys from the Eastern Kingdom offered a night pearl the size of a fist. Go and fetch it. I want to use it as a nightlight for the little princess. The crowd, already astonished that the emperor had held me on his throne, was even more shocked to hear he would give such a precious pearl to me. They were stunned. Emperor Zongwen placed the night pearl into my hands, and immediately my happy cheers rang in his ears. Ah! Is this a night pearl? It is beautiful. Seeing the spark return to my eyes, Emperor Zongwen finally set his worried heart at ease. My princess deserves the best things in this world. As I held the pearl in joy, I suddenly shuddered. A murderous aura. Someone was looking at me with malice. Who is it? But an infant's vision is too limited. I could only crane my neck to look in one direction. Emperor Zongwen followed my gaze, meeting the eyes of the Empress. Upon touching her gentle gaze, most of his day's frustration dissipated. His Empress was someone he had set his sights on the very first time he saw her back when he was a prince. When the Empress had just come of age, he begged the late emperor to grant them a marriage. After ascending the throne, he immediately made her Empress. Before long, he named their firstborn child the Crown Prince. It's just a pity. The prince died of a cold at only 3 years old. Since then, no matter how hard he tried, the Empress never conceived again. The Empress walked slowly to the emperor's side, reached out to take the princess, and examined her closely. She looked so lovely. So fair and chubby. Emperor Zongwen shook his head with a wry smile. This girl of his has only a pretty face. Underneath those swaddling clothes, the parts you can't see are actually quite terrifying. Chuyu. Bring me the longevity lock I prepared for the princess. I immediately tossed aside the luminous pearl and used all my strength in my tiny hands and feet to grab the lock and wouldn't let go. Oh my god. It's gold. And it's solid. Wow, wow. The Emperor and Empress are so wealthy. I really hope to enjoy a life like this for a few more years. I've decided I will do my best to help my royal daddy, help him change his destiny, and let him live to 100. Emperor Zongwen nodded repeatedly. Daughters really are the best. His own personal little comfort. Getting carried away for a moment, I started flailing my arms and legs around again. A little green hand broke free from the blanket and landed with a slap right on the Empress's face. Ah! The Empress cried out in surprise, and her hands loosened, sending me falling straight down. Luckily, the Emperor was quick-witted and agile, and caught me before I could hit the floor. She's only 1 day old. If she had really fallen, she would have been killed or crippled. Just as Emperor Zongwen was about to scold the Empress, he heard a gasp of surprise beside him. Yet, the words that followed were something Emperor Zongwen would never forget. It turns out the Empress is the real mastermind behind it all. The red thread connecting the fake eunuch is actually tied to the Empress's ankle. Daddy Emperor, you must be careful of this woman. The Empress hates you. She hates you so much. Emperor Zongwen swayed on his feet, feeling a momentary wave of dizziness. What his daughter said was true. Emperor Zongwen had suspected everyone, but he never once suspected it could be the Empress, simply because he knew that the Empress loved him to the bone. The atmosphere was incredibly tense, and everyone was too afraid to even breathe. Your Majesty, I did not mean for that to happen. The child started it first. I've been hit by her too, but I didn't go around dropping her. She's only a day old. How could she survive a fall like that? He looked toward Eunuch Shi nearby. Announce my decree. The Empress has shown a lack of character. She is to be confined to the Jingren Palace to reflect for 6 months. I will not accept this. But Emperor Zongwen was in no mood to listen. He waved his hand, and palace servants immediately came to escort the Empress away. The Empress had her pride too. Seeing that the Emperor would no longer entertain her, she was so furious she forgot her manners. She flicked her sleeves and stormed out of the hall. Emperor Zongwen's mind was a mess, when suddenly he felt a damp warmth on his chest. His daughter had peed on him again. I am taking the princess to change her clothes. You all continue eating. I will return shortly. Seeing both the Emperor and Empress gone, the bolder concubines left their seats one after another and headed toward where their families were seated. They were quite grateful to the princess, as they rarely got to see their own families. To say I wouldn't miss them would be a lie. Today, the Emperor has shown mercy and summoned their families here. It is a rare opportunity. The concubines can reunite with their kin. They are truly overjoyed. In the dressing room, the father and daughter are present. The Emperor orders the palace maids to change the princess's clothes nearby. He is desperate to know why the Empress would act this way. The Empress believes the crown prince was my father, and that I had him killed to consolidate power. Am I really such a cold-blooded man? Emperor Zongwen trembles with rage. His own wife actually does not trust him. The tale of the Emperor killing his son was told by the Empress's own father. Between her lover and her kin, the Empress chose her kin. Why didn't she choose her own husband? Living in the palace, are her eyes and heart merely for decoration? Before the crown prince fell ill, the position of grand marshal in the court was vacant. The Empress's father, Liu Ziyi, was already a general. A second-rank official, Liu Ziyi still wanted to rise in the court. At the time, the crown prince was 3 years old. The crown prince's grandfather held military power. No emperor would ever allow that. So, whose path was the crown prince really blocking? The foolish Empress chose to believe the very words of the man who killed her child. How ridiculous and tragic. It is not just the Empress who is foolish. I have been just as foolish as she is. Liu Ziyi grasping for military power and murdering the crown prince. His wicked ambition was laid bare. If not for hearing my little girl's thoughts today, I would have been caught completely unprepared. Once it dawned on him, Emperor Zongwen broke into a cold sweat. Fortunately, there is still time to set things right. The Liu family should prepare their necks, for I am coming for them. Calming his nerves, have the servants take the little princess back to Chuhua Palace. Emperor Zongwen returned to the palace banquet. The emperor felt heavy-hearted. After drinking a few cups of wine, he raised his cup and stepped down from the dais. Honorable ministers, is there anything you need my help with? Everyone looked at one another, glancing back and forth. No one dared to move. The elderly Grand Counselor Wu De observed the emperor's expression, sighed, and stepped forward. Your Majesty, there is a matter I am unsure whether I should speak of. I am asking you, so just say it. Tell me about your most distressing problem, and cheer me up a bit. Alas, my only son is already 20 years old, but he refuses to marry or have children. I would like to ask your Majesty to help me make an introduction, and find a wife for my good-for-nothing son. The Wu family line cannot end with him. Your Majesty, don't listen to my father's nonsense. It is not that I refuse to marry. I simply haven't met anyone who captures my heart. If she does not bring me joy, I will not accept a marriage decreed by your Majesty. You unfilial wretch. How dare you speak to the Emperor like that? Oh, your Majesty, I have failed to live up to your trust. I cannot even manage my own son. As he spoke, the old Grand Counselor actually shed tears of sorrow. Regarding your son's affair, I shall take charge. Rest assured. This was his daughter's specialty after all. His daughter could see the threads of fate between people. He would bring his daughter here and let her use those threads to find a wife for the young man. Guards, go to Chua Palace and bring the little princess here. Tell Consort Shu that I miss my daughter. Your Majesty, isn't this inappropriate? Must we trouble the little princess with this matter? The little princess is truly precious after all. The Empress was just heavily punished a moment ago. It's no trouble at all. My daughter is a blessed child. Let your son hold the princess. He'll share in her good fortune. I am certain that before long, you will get exactly what you wish for. Your subject offers his deepest thanks for your royal grace. As expected, seeing others suffer makes one feel much better. I am in high spirits today. Are there any other matters? I will resolve them all for you. Your Majesty, my daughter has been unable to conceive a child. I wish to bring her home. Who is this? This is Lord Li Kong from the Directorate of Astronomy, in charge of weather. There has been little rain in the capital for the past half-year. He was just transferred to the capital from a local post. Oh, step forward and speak. He has held this office in such a timid and nervous manner. His voice was so soft that he couldn't even hear himself. As Li Kong approached, Emperor Zongwen finally saw that he was just a frail, elderly man. Speak. What is the matter? My only daughter has been married for 3 years, but she has been unable to conceive. I wish to bring my daughter home. Do you think your daughter is suffering at her husband's home and want me to step in and support her? The atmosphere became very awkward. Li Kong said nothing, just kneeling on the ground, bowing his head repeatedly. Your Majesty, Lord Li must have had too much to drink. It is said that one should encourage reconciliation, not separation. What kind of father asks for his daughter's marriage to be annulled? A nearby official saw the Emperor's darkening expression and tried to pull Lord Li away. Please grant me an imperial decree. Please grant me an imperial decree to let me bring my daughter home. Emperor Zongwen frowned. To bring up his daughter's affairs at a palace banquet, it was truly lacking in decorum. He had little patience for such coddling fathers. Royal Papa, I'm here again. This time, my wet nurse patted me with super absorbent cotton cloth, so I won't pee on you again. Haha, his daughter had arrived because of my inner voice. Emperor Zongwen, who had seen through several major events. How do you see me now? Why are you so happy? Look at how wonderful his daughter was. At such a tender age, she was already so considerate. He really wanted to tell me, what is there to fear about a baby's urine? It is not dirty at all. He cast a side glance at Li Kong, who was still kneeling on the ground. He really lacked a sense of the situation, blocking the middle of the path, making it impossible for his daughter to pass. He could only say impatiently to Li Kong, I grant your request. I will write it for you in a moment. I will also have a eunuch go to your daughters-in-laws to proclaim the decree. Thank you for your imperial grace. Li Kong kowtowed to the emperor several times in gratitude before slowly standing up and moving aside. He allowed the palace attendant, holding the princess, to bring the princess into the emperor's arms. As Emperor Zongwen took his daughter, he noticed concubine Shu was also following behind in formal attire, carrying an infant in her arms as well. It must be his eldest daughter, whom he had yet to see. Concubine Shu, you've just given birth. Why aren't you resting properly? This banquet was held by the emperor specifically for the princess, so I wished to come personally to thank the emperor. As she spoke, she tried to hand the eldest princess in her arms to the emperor. Concubine Shu wanted to leave both princesses with him. Although it was unlikely, if there was even a sliver of a chance, Concubine Shu wanted to try. Emperor Zongwen was also eager to see his eldest daughter, to see if she, just like the younger one, possessed some special ability. Wu Yi, come over and hold my little princess, so you can soak up some good luck. Find yourself a wife soon, and give the chancellor a big healthy grandson. Once his arms were empty, Emperor Zongwen took the eldest princess from concubine Shu, examining her closely. She doesn't look as good as the little one. Why is her skin so dark? It is like she has been scorched. Emperor Zongwen tapped the infant's cheek lightly, trying to wake her up, to see if she, like the little princess, would project any inner thoughts, but he was disappointed. His eldest daughter was essentially sound sleeper, and no matter how he teased her, she wouldn't wake up. In the end, he had to give up. There will be plenty of time. I can check on her another day. Concubine Shu, you take her. He handed the eldest princess back to Concubine Shu and leaned back toward the little princess. Emperor Zongwen watched his daughter's tiny hands alternately touching Wu Yi's face, her little head bobbing up and down, as if she had discovered something amusing. What an old-fashioned, clueless guy. With this kind of family background, being the chancellor's only son, and he has still managed to remain a lifelong bachelor. That really takes true talent to stay single. Let me take a good look. Such a thin red string. I almost couldn't see it. Why is the red string so thin? What is going on here? A secret crush? Hard to say. Better check with my left hand. Hey, you have to admit, the Chancellor's only son really is high caliber. The golden light of merit on him is so radiant. It is a beautiful color. He is a good young man. If I get the chance, this big sister will definitely make that red string thicker and stronger for you. Emperor Zongwen chuckled at this. She has only been born for a single day. How dare you call yourself an older sister? With the excitement over, the next second, the little princess's eyelids started to droop. As she was about to fall asleep, Your Majesty, may your humble servant hold the princess as well. I too wished to share in the princess's blessings. Emperor Zongwen, who had been eavesdropping on the gossip, was startled by the aged voice. Hold her. Emperor Zongwen squeezed the words through his teeth. This old man had no sense of decorum at all. Wu Yi had long since grown tired of being pawed at by the little princess. Upon hearing someone eager to take the baby off his hands, he immediately passed the little princess over. He had seen it with his own eyes. The princess had just peed all over the emperor. The emperor had spare clothes to change into, but he certainly did not. If he walked out of the palace reeking of that, wouldn't he be the laughingstock of everyone? Li Kong carefully received the little princess. Seeing that she was ready to drift off, he even began to rock his arms gently, hoping to help the princess sleep more comfortably. I was just about to fall asleep myself. I opened my eyes and noticed the person holding me had changed, so I reflexively reached out my left hand. Who doesn't have a bit of a voyeuristic streak? As long as I press my left hand against someone, it is just like watching a TV show. Their life's achievements and failings unfold right before my eyes. I was currently hooked on this, so whenever I had the chance, I would watch whoever I could. Seeing me reach out my little hand, Li Kong, who had been observing from the sidelines for quite a while, understood my intention and proactively lowered his head so that my hand could touch his face. But in that very instant, the scenes I witnessed before me shook me to my core with fear, leaving me deathly pale. Extreme terror made me forget to pull my hand back, and even forget to cry. I was forced to keep absorbing every detail of Li Kong's life story. When Emperor Zongwen realized something was wrong with me, I was so scared that I forgot how to breathe. My little face had turned blue from holding my breath. Emperor Zongwen carefully took me into his arms. Feeling his familiar heartbeat, I burst out, crying loudly. Seeing that I could breathe again, Emperor Zongwen finally set his worried heart at ease. Li Kong was frightened out of his wits. He knelt on the ground, kowtowing repeatedly to beg for mercy. Your Majesty, please spare my life. This subject is guilty. I haven't shaved in days. It must have been my stubble pricking the princess. Wu Yi pursed his lips and stroked his own smooth, hairless chin. Why did he feel a strange sense of pride? At this point, everyone in the Great Hall was kneeling, waiting for Emperor Zongwen to speak. It is getting late. You may all be dismissed. He carried me as he walked toward the inner chambers. Even his own heart was anything but calm, because his daughter's inner thoughts at that moment were trading children for food. This is a living hell on earth. This is no place for humans to survive. Man-made disasters can be prevented, but how can one escape natural disasters? Bones exposed in the wilderness, not a rooster's crow for 1,000 miles. Why must I see such scenes? A child to save the common people. I don't want to be bled. Having grown up in a peaceful era, I had never seen such tragic sights. This time, I was truly terrified. Emperor Zongwen could only pace back and forth in the hall while holding his daughter. He walked for a full quarter of an hour before finally lulling me to sleep, and even then, I could not be set down. I would cry the moment he tried. There was nothing for it. Emperor Zongwen had to hold me while sitting at his desk. He took up his brush and wrote down the few points I had mentioned, connecting them together. My daughter saw a massive disaster coming to Tianqi in the future through Li Kong. Someone in the court was forcing him to kill his child as a sacrifice to heaven. Is heaven intent on destroying Tianqi? No, that is not right. It is heaven that is saving Tianqi. Before the natural and man-made disasters struck, my little girl warned him in advance. Once he realized this, Emperor Zongwen shouted toward the empty palace hall. Handao. Come out and show yourself to me. The palace hall remained deathly silent. There wasn't even a hint of movement. Emperor Zongwen felt like such a fool. In the corner of the palace rafters, a man in black was hiding, hesitating whether or not to come down to see the emperor. But the emperor had called for Handao. He wasn't Handao after all. To descend or not to descend, that was the question. Emperor Zongwen suppressed his anger and spoke up once more. Who is on duty today? Come out and see me. Good heavens. These shadow guards have incredible skills, but they aren't exactly the brightest bulbs. Talking to them every time is enough to drive him to an early grave. Just then, a man in black jumped down from behind Emperor Zongwen, startling the emperor so much he almost dropped the little princess in his arms. Every single time it is like this. They never appear from the same spot. Although he was prepared for it, he was still always caught off guard by their dramatic entrances. Who are you? Where is Handao? In reply to your majesty, Chief Handao is on break. Your servant is Singling, second in rank among the shadow guards. Emperor Zongwen gritted his teeth, suddenly feeling deeply aggrieved. Even guards get to take breaks. Yet as the emperor, he works all year round without a single day off. And now heaven wants to add to his troubles. After wallowing in self-pity for a moment, within 2 hours, I want the personnel file of Li Kong, the weather official, at the Imperial Observatory, as well as information on his daughter's husband's family. The more detailed, the better. As you command. In the blink of an eye, the dark shadow vanished. Emperor Zongwen was left speechless. Do they really have to be so elusive whenever they come and go? Exhausted from the long day, Emperor Zongwen fell asleep on the dragon throne while holding me. Emperor Zongwen did not sleep peacefully. Perhaps it was a case of what one thinks about by day appearing in one's dreams by night. He drifted through several hazy, troubled dreams. In his dream, he saw the horrific sight of families trading children to eat. Inside the imperial court, the civil and military officials led by Grand Marshal Liu were forcing him to kill his own child. Your Majesty, make your decision. The little princess is destined for imperial greatness. Use the little princess's blood to sacrifice to the heavens and earth. Your Majesty, sacrifice the child to save the common people. Your Majesty, you are forcing me to kill my own child. PFFT. A mouthful of fresh blood sprayed from Emperor Zongwen's lips. Emperor Zongwen awoke, looking down at the new splash of crimson on his dragon robe. He realized that because of a dream, he had actually vomited blood. Or perhaps it wasn't just a dream. Looking at his sleeping daughter, this might have been the very scene his daughter saw in Li Kong. Such a tragic sight still left the now-awake Emperor Zongwen lingering in fear. At this moment, a dark shadow placed a stack of documents on the desk and vanished once again. He picked up the information the shadow guard had just gathered. Turning to the first page, Li Kong, Director of the Imperial Observatory, rank 6B, responsible for observing and recording celestial changes. This man is highly skilled in the field of meteorological determination. Half a month ago, he was transferred from Dashikun, Songshan Town. The second page contained information on the family of Li Kong's daughter's husband. Li Kong's daughter is named Li Ziyi. Her husband is named Wang Ba. Because Wang Ba's father died early, his clan members seized all their family's farmland. The mother and son lived in extreme poverty. He passed the imperial exam at 14 and was a renowned prodigy for miles around. But that was as far as his career would go. He attempted the provincial exams several times after that, but failed every single time. Wang Ba's mother was getting on in years, having toiled for so long, and she was now frail and sickly. She couldn't afford to let him continue his studies. In order to keep studying, Wang Ba proposed to Li Kong. He wanted to marry Li Kong's only daughter, Li Ziyi. Li Kong recognized Wang Ba's scholarship. Not only did he give his only daughter's hand in marriage, but he also shared his own experience and connections with his son-in-law. In last year's provincial examination, Wang Ba passed as a juror. The situation changed. Wang Ba began making life difficult for Li Ziyi in every way. He is now engaged to the magistrate's daughter and intends to use the excuse of her being childless for 3 years to divorce Li Ziyi. Li Kong refused to accept the divorce, asking Wang Ba to consider how much he helped him with his studies and exchange the divorce decree for a mutual separation agreement. But Wang Ba would not agree to it. Closing the file. On the surface, everything looks normal. Li Kong truly wants his daughter to come home. Emperor Zongwen tapped his fingers on the table. It was a habit he had developed over many years, but this time his tapping woke me up. Hungry, I need to be fed. A bright idea struck him. I can just ask my daughter. Li Kong's son-in-law. How utterly shameless. He uses his father-in-law's connections and resources, only to discard his wife after passing the imperial exam. Let him be arrogant. I can annul his scholar status. Let him rave and rant. The breeze blows over the hills. Let him bully and bluster. The bright moon shines over the river. Still half asleep, I reflexively replied with a famous modern quote. No, that is not it. Imperial Daddy, son-in-law Li Kong is a good man. He doesn't want to divorce his wife. It was a play they were putting on to help his father-in-law. The local magistrate is a good man too. They are all acting to support Li Kong. Imperial Daddy, you really need to reflect. Aside from the Prime Minister, it seems none of your close officials are any good. If the local authorities want to report something useful to you, they have to go through all this trouble to stage a show. As expected, having a daughter is incredibly useful. Her few words cleared up all his doubts. He called for a maid to take his daughter away for feeding. Emperor Zongwen recalled. At recent morning courts, Summonon had mentioned the weather, but every time he tried to ask for details, he was interrupted by the Liu family with more pressing matters. It seems the Liu family has already begun their move. The Liu family intends to use the natural disaster as an excuse to provide a pretext for rebellion. In order to become the new emperor, Liu Ziyi is willing to disregard the lives of all the people. While Emperor Zongwen was thinking about how to bring down the Liu family, a figure in black suddenly appeared in the center of the hall. Your subject Han Bing pays respects to your majesty. Speak, what is it? The Empress is in her bedchamber with Eunuch Yan. A short while later, Emperor Zongwen appeared outside the Empress's Jingren palace carrying his little daughter. He had struggled with the decision for a long time, but eventually steeled himself and brought his daughter along. He is a bit paranoid right now. Without his daughter, he can't feel at ease with anything. Although catching an adulterer is a dirty business, he still brought his daughter with him. Imperial Daddy, I'm so sleepy. Why did you carry me out in the middle of the night? Emperor Zongwen spoke as if to himself. My little lucky charm. Your birth brought auspicious omens. That is why I want you by my side wherever I go. Yay. Really? Royal Daddy, am I really that great? Ha ha ha. Then I will work even harder to be your little good luck charm, Royal Daddy. I'll pray for your long life and for the peace and prosperity of our nation. Because of these auspicious words from his daughter, the tension in the emperor's body gradually began to fade. I will. These difficulties are only temporary. Tomorrow will be better. After taking a deep breath, the emperor kicked open the doors to the Empress's bedchamber and strode inside. Smash it all. Tear this palace apart. The emperor had already made up his mind. Today, I will catch them in the act, and then I will confiscate their estates. He needed to cut the knot quickly. Using the scandal of the Empress's infidelity as a pretext, he would wipe out the entire Liu clan. Once the human threat was resolved, he could focus his energy on tackling the natural disaster. Royal Daddy, don't break things. It is such a waste. It is all money. We'll need a lot of funds for the disaster relief later. The emperor thought about it and agreed it was true, so he quickly ordered them to stop. But the Empress's bedchamber was his final line in the sand. It must be destroyed, and it must be stripped completely clean. Otherwise, my anger will never be appeased. The emperor held his little daughter in the main hall of the palace, waiting for the Empress and Eunuch Yan to be brought before him. Royal Daddy, they say that if you want to get by in life, you have to be able to endure a little green on your head. Looking at the pale, furious face of my royal daddy, many comforting words flooded my mind. But alas, I am too small, and he cannot hear these words. I can't ease his heartbreak. The emperor held his daughter even tighter. The heart wounded by his wedded wife was softened by his daughter's pure and gentle love. This good mood lasted until the Empress and Eunuch Yan were brought in. I felt that my imperial father, who was holding me, slowly began to tense up, and his breathing grew unsteady. Imperial father, that won't do. The more furious you get, the more triumphant she will be. You must act like you don't care. The more indifferent you appear, the more the Empress will lose her mind. Acting, that is his forte. Since things had already come to this, Emperor Zongwen had no desire to bicker with the Empress. Empress, do you know who was responsible for the Crown Prince's death? It was you who, to secure your throne, murdered my child. You murdered your own son. You are not worthy of being the Emperor of Tianqi. Foolish. It was your dear father who killed the Crown Prince just to secure the position of Grand Marshal. You're lying. Before my father became the Grand Marshal, he was already the General of Auxiliary Troops, a second-rank official. Why would he, for the sake of being Grand Marshal? Why did you stop? Your father didn't just stop at the position of Grand Marshal. His ambitions were much greater than that. He is a traitor and a villain, and he intended to usurp the throne. Guards, bring Chu Yuan. Before long, The Empress saw a woman beaten beyond recognition, being dragged into the hall. Is that Chu Yu? The Empress's eyes were filled with heartache. Chu Yu had been serving by her side since she was very, very young. Among all her maids, she was the most simple-minded, but she was also the one she trusted the most. If you have some anger, take it out on me. To do such a thing to a servant, do you not feel it beneath your status? The Empress shouted at Emperor Zongwen. Emperor Zongwen ignored the Empress. Chu Yu, tell the Empress what you have done. The Empress suddenly had a bad premonition. My lady, I am sorry. I have betrayed your trust. The moment Chu Yu called her my lady, the Empress froze. Calling her my lady, was she trying to remind her of the bond they shared? Even if the Empress were naive, she knew now that things were not simple. Tell me, how did you betray me? Master gave me a handkerchief, claiming it was embroidered by you for the Crown Prince, and told me to use it to wipe the Crown Prince's mouth and hands. Not long after the Crown Prince used the handkerchief, he fell ill. The handkerchief. When did this happen? Why didn't you tell me at the time? Master told me that I could not let you know about the handkerchief. I didn't dare to speak of it. Later, when the Crown Prince was sick, Lanner saw the handkerchief and liked its color, so she took it for herself. After the Crown Prince died, Lanner also fell ill and died. The Empress swayed on her feet, as if her memory had returned to that painful time. She recalled that many in her palace had indeed fallen ill back then. Chu Yu had also been through a serious illness. The Empress remained silent for a long time. She wiped away her tears. I admit my guilt, but I have one request. I hope that, for the sake of the years we were married, you will grant it to me. Emperor Zongwen looked at the Empress in this state, and nodded. I want to witness the execution of the Liu family with my own eyes. Very well. This night was destined to be a sleepless one. Emperor Zongwen carried me already fast asleep back to the Qinzheng Hall. He is waiting for word. 30 minutes later, Grand Eunuch Shi led the commander of the Imperial Guard into the main hall. Your Majesty, Liu Ziyi's entire household has been thrown into the dungeon. Did Liu Ziyi put up a fight? No, sir. I led my men to take them by surprise. We didn't give him any time to react. Good, very good. Grand Eunuch Shi, reward the commander with 2,000 taels of silver. Thank you, Your Majesty. I didn't expect this mess to be handled so quickly. His daughter really is his lucky star. Zongwen Di shouted into the empty air. Shadow Guard, show yourselves. 3 figures in black jumped out from 3 different directions in the hall. Your servant, Xingling. Your servant, Hanren. Feng. Your servant, Bingshui. Heron. Your shift is over. Then you shall go. Take men to protect Li Kong's family, including the families of his daughter and son-in-law. And one more thing, bring Li Jizhen from the Imperial Medical Academy to examine Wang Ba's mother. Yes. Your servant obeys. At a private residence in the countryside, Wang Bei watched the figures in black suddenly appear, his heart tightening. They must be here to silence me. It seems my father-in-law's plan failed. Wang Bei was overcome with grief. Come on then. Do it. I, Wang Bei, am not afraid. His Majesty sent us to protect the family of Minister Li Kong. We heard your mother is ill. Wang Ba flared up instantly. Your mother is the one who is ill. Your whole family is ill. This is Imperial Physician Lai from the palace. His Majesty personally arranged for him to treat your mother's illness. Weia, I'm so touched. The Emperor actually cares about my mother's illness. Wang Bei's knees went weak, and facing the direction of the Imperial Palace, he kowtowed several times, until his forehead began to bleed, before he finally stood up. This must be what father-in-law meant by a mutual devotion between sovereign and subject. The anxiety that had plagued Wang Bei for days finally began to settle. Imperial City. Emperor Zongwen's iron-fisted response to the Liu family's rebellion truly shook many of the restless elements in the Imperial Court. During court sessions these past few days, the efficiency and attitude of the ministers have clearly improved. Emperor Zongwen was extremely satisfied. After court concluded that day, Emperor Zongwen headed, as usual, toward Consort Shu's Chuhua Palace. He was going to see his little daughter. Following Eunuch Shi's announcement, the emperor has arrived. Consort Shu stepped out to welcome him with the 2 princesses. This consort pays her respects to the emperor. Rise. Have the princesses been fussy today? No. Both children have been very well behaved. The eldest princess loves to sleep. The younger one is just a bit naughty. Why does the older one love sleeping so much? Have you had the imperial physician take a look? Emperor Zongwen spoke as he went to look at his eldest daughter, who had grown just a little bit. I have. The physician said everything is normal. It is common for infants to be sleepy. Imperial Daddy, you've finally come. Where are you taking me to play today? Consort Shu stole a glance at the emperor, lost in silent reflection. The emperor is really good at acting, she thought. He discovered I could hear our daughter's inner voice right away. If he hadn't told me he could hear it too, I never would have suspected. Consort Shu sighed to herself. No wonder he is the one on the throne. Such a talent for acting is not something the average person can learn. Consort Shu watched as the emperor carried their little daughter off to the imperial garden for a stroll, and looking over at her eldest daughter still fast asleep. Thanks to her little daughter, concubine Shu had been living her most comfortable days recently. Noticing the wind in the courtyard was light, she wanted to step out and get some fresh air. It was a rare moment of leisure. Concubine Shu dismissed her maids and eunuchs and strolled slowly along the path by herself. A strange cackle came from behind Concubine Shu. Concubine Shu's body stiffened, feeling a pair of icy hands clamping onto her throat. Concubine Shu had always known that this deep palace was full of filth and dark secrets, but she never expected that in broad daylight such things would dare to come out and harm people. Trembling with terror, Concubine Shu stammered through chattering teeth. Every grievance has its perpetrator. Every debt has its debtor. Whoever harmed you, go find them. I have been in this palace for so many years, and I have never done anything wicked or immoral, nor have I ever taken a life. At the same moment, the eldest princess, who was sleeping in her cradle, abruptly opened her eyes. She turned her head toward the direction where Concubine Shu had left. Her face, usually vacant and expressionless, revealed a look of utter annoyance. So annoying. That little chatterbox finally got carried away. I finally get a moment of peace and quiet. And now there is some female ghost here to bother me too. Having my inner thoughts overheard was annoying enough already. Just to avoid being heard, I've had to just sleep all day long with all that bottling up. The floodgates of the eldest princess's mind were opened, and she couldn't stop herself. After grumbling and gabbing on, she finally remembered that her mother in this life seemed to be getting chased by a ghost. The baby in the cradle stretched out her limbs, and like some small creature, silently crawled out of the cradle. She crawled toward the concubine's location at a very high speed. Once she saw the concubine, the eldest princess curled her lip. Actually, encountering a ghost is a good workout for a pampered young lady. Look at her mother. How happily she is playing with the ghost, running and jumping, screaming and shouting. The eldest princess predicted that her mother would definitely sleep soundly tonight. The eldest princess saw that the female ghost meant no harm, and that it allowed her mother to get some good exercise. That is just fine. She slowly crawled back the way she came. Because her heavenly tribulation had failed, she was struck by lightning and sent to this parallel world. Her remaining magical power was precious and dwindling with every use, so she had to save it for when she really needed to save her life. Oh ghost, please spare me. I really can't run anymore. I truly cannot run another step. Concubine Shu simply collapsed onto the ground, unable to move. She had never run so fast in her entire life, nor had she ever laid on the ground like this before. Waiting for death, Concubine Shu looked up at the sky. So this is what the sky looks like from this angle. The sky is so blue. It's a pity she probably wouldn't see it again. A young palace maid suddenly let out a shriek. Ah, my lady. What has happened to you? Concubine Shu couldn't react for a moment. Weia. I'm still alive. I really thought I was going to be killed by the ghost this time. Such supernatural eerie events. No matter how silly she was, Concubine Shu couldn't tell anyone. But she was truly terrified. That very night, Concubine Shu had both her daughters brought to her. Her bed was big anyway. Adding 2 children wouldn't be crowded. Because of the heat, the 2 children inside the canopy were only wearing little belly bands. The 2 chubby little bundles, having just eaten their fill, weren't sleepy at all, and were just kicking their arms and legs on the bed. They were so adorable. Consort Shu plays with this for a moment, and then strokes that for a moment, having quite a good time herself. You two don't even look alike. My eldest, you are just too dark. I don't know if you'll ever grow out of it. If you stay this dark forever, it won't be easy to find a husband later. My second, you're fair and delicate, and your little face is lovely, but your hands and feet have such large birthmarks, and the colors are different too. It'll be hard for you to marry as well when you two grow up. Where is mother supposed to find husbands for you? Consort Shu chatted on and on with her 2 daughters all night long. The mother and her 2 children fell asleep without even realizing it. About 4 hours passed. Consort Shu felt her body was wet. When she touched it with her hand, it was sticky too. Could both children have wet the bed at the same time? Some omen, come here. The princesses have wet the bed. Change the princesses' clothes. Where is everyone? Is no one on night duty today? As if she had thought of something, Consort Shu's body stiffened abruptly. That familiar feeling had returned. Consort Shu looked down at the color of her clothes, and her pupils dilated instantly. Bright red. She had been wearing moon white before going to sleep. You female ghost, have you come? What on earth do you want? I told you already, I have never harmed anyone. Let me tell you this, you can bully me if you want, but my 2 children are princesses of Tianqi, with the imperial bloodline in their veins. For a ghost to touch dragon blood means certain death. Don't you dare lay a finger on them. Consort Shu regretted it bitterly. How could I be so stupid? How did I not think that the ghost would come at night too? Haven't I just put my daughter in danger? What should I do? The ghost waves her hand with a flourish. Shu Fei feels the scene before her eyes flash by. Her body begins to float upward. Shu Fei looks down. A palace maid is walking from afar, carrying some clothes. As the maid gets closer, Shu Fei is surprised to discover that this is the ghost herself. Shu Fei grits her teeth. She knew she hadn't been the one to kill her. The maid pushes open the door to the bedchamber, which should have been empty. Her eyes land on clothes scattered all over the floor. The maid responsible for the Empress's wardrobe recognizes them at a single glance. The clothes on the floor are the Empress's undergarments. There are also clothes belonging to a eunuch. The sound of the door opening startles the 2 who were busy in the throes of passion. The Empress runs out barefoot from inside. Following her out is the Emperor's head eunuch. Floating in the air, Shu Fei tightly covers her own mouth. This is too absurd. Is the Empress blind? She chose Eunuch Yan. No wonder the Liu family fell so quickly. So that is why. Shu Fei is twisting and writhing in the sky, overcome with dark energy. Damn it all. Knowing such a huge piece of gossip and having no one to share it with, it's pure torture. This discomfort makes Shu Fei even forget her fear. When the ghost's face appears before Shu Fei's eyes, Shu Fei is stunned. She had genuinely forgotten about the ghost. A thought automatically pops into her mind. Pregnancy makes you stupid for 3 years. I've had 2. Does that mean double the stupidity? 2 lines of bloody tears stream down the ghost's face. She looks both pitiable and terrifying. Gathering her courage, Shu Fei says cautiously, the Empress has already been brought down. You can rest easy and move on to the afterlife. The ghost shakes her head. Consort Shu had no choice but to guess again. Is there something weighing on your heart? The ghost nodded. Consort Shu really wanted to slap herself. Why did I have to open my big mouth? You can't even talk. I'll never be able to guess what you want. The ghost seemed to understand something. She waved her spectral hand. The scene before Consort Shu shifted. It was a dormitory for palace maids. A room shared by 2. Only one maid was in the room. She was holding a mirror and weeping. Sister, where are you? It has been a year. Not a single word. Mom and Dad miss you so much. I've been in the palace for almost half a year now. I've asked so many people, but no one has any news of you. The ghost shed 2 more lines of bloody tears. Please stop bleeding. You're scaring me to death. Do you want me to find this maid and tell her what happened to you? The ghost nodded, then shook her head. Consort Shu was losing it. She hated having to use her brain. Consort Shu stopped guessing and stayed silent. Consort Shu remained silent. The ghost began to weep tears of blood, looking at the blood now pooling at her ankles. Consort Shu gave in. Stop crying. I get it. I'll find her, I'll tell her, and I'll help her get out of the palace, so she can live a good life outside. The ghost nodded. Perhaps it was because she was a mother herself, but Consort Shu had been very emotional lately. Even in death, this ghost was still thinking of her little sister, and the sister had chosen to enter the palaces just to search for her. Consort Shu suddenly burst into tears. To outsiders, she seemed to be riding high. The emperor visits the Chua Palace every day to see the princess, but who knows the inner turmoil she suffers. Twins of the same gender are considered an omen of misfortune. One of the children must be sent away. Yet the closer she grows to the 2 children, the more her heart aches. The woman and the ghost both wept uncontrollably, heedless of anyone else. I keep hearing strange noises in my ears. One moment wailing, the next screeching. I open my eyes, and there's a dark, shadowy thing hovering above my head. By reflex, I stick out my little foot and kick. As it happens, my little left foot, the one that had touched Meng Po's soup, struck that black mass. In a daze, I think I hear a yelp. The dark shadow vanishes. Consort Shu sits blankly on the bed, looking down at the color of her nightgown. White. She touches her face with her hand. It is wet with tears. The female ghost seems to have truly left this time. Her heart feels empty. Consort Shu's tears fall like beads from a broken string tumbling down. Mother, why are you crying? And crying so sadly. Mother, don't cry. Seeing you cry makes my heart ache. Seeing my usually radiant and beautiful mother crying like this, my own heart feels bitter. My baby body starts to wail along with her. A mother and child are of one heart. The eldest princess on the bed also starts crying loudly. Consort Shu picks up both children, and the three of them weep openly on the bed together. The commotion from the three of them is simply too loud, disturbing the palace attendants on night watch. But Consort Shu does not call for anyone to come in and serve. The people outside are frantic with worry but dare not enter. One quick-witted eunuch rolls his eyes and runs off toward the emperor's sleeping quarters. Before long, the emperor appeared in the Chua palace. Emperor Zongwen looked at the mother and daughters, sobbing on the bed, and couldn't help but be moved. He didn't need to ask why concubine Shu was crying. He had also been pondering the omen of same-sex twins lately. In truth, this was a royal secret. It happened in the 35th year of the Tianqi era. The Empress gave birth to twin princes. The law of the land dictates the eldest son succeeds the throne. The elder brother became the emperor, and the younger was named a prince. But, during a family banquet, the younger brother imprisoned the older one, and took the throne for himself. From then on, Tianqi established a rule that only one of a pair of same-sex twins could remain in the palace. The other was supposedly exiled to a desolate land, never to marry or have children, but in reality the child sent away never survived. Emperor Zongwen walked over and wrapped his broad arms around the three of them. Concubine Shu, stop crying. I promise you, neither of the two children will be sent away. Hearing the emperor's words, Concubine Shu looked up, her eyes filled with tears. Are you telling the truth? Concubine Shu's eyes were red and swollen from crying, and as she spoke, a giant snot bubble puffed right out of her nose. Emperor Zongwen shamefully released his embrace, and even took a step back. Such a huge snot bubble, if it popped, it would make quite a mess. Even though he had already dealt with men's saliva and changed baby diapers, he wasn't quite ready to deal with a concubine's mucus on him. Why did you stand so far away? Pop! The bubble burst. Wah wah wah. Mom! Your giant snot got all over my face and my sister's. Mom, you're so gross. I flailed my arms and legs, struggling in concubine Shu's arms. The eldest princess also kept rubbing her face against the swaddling blanket. Because of this, seeing this, Emperor Zongwen hurried forward to take the little princess. He left Consort Shu to hold only the eldest princess. Your Majesty, can I truly keep them? Yes. Rest assured. When have I ever spoken a lie? You are truly too kind to me, Your Majesty. The attendants fed the two princesses and changed them into fresh swaddling clothes. After Consort Shu had tidied herself up as well, seeing that Emperor Zongwen had not yet left, Consort Shu blushed faintly. I am still in my confinement period, so I cannot serve you. Neither of the two adults noticed that both babies, at that very moment, rolled their eyes in perfect synchronization. The fact that the emperor had gone to Chua Palace in the middle of the night, and had even stayed the night there, spread quickly to every corner of the palace. Many people speculated whether Consort Shu would rise in status through her daughters and be named Empress. The other concubines in the harem were so jealous that their eyes turned red with envy. The maids and eunuchs, however, were quite clear-headed. From now on, any errands at Chua Palace must be handled with the utmost care and diligence. With Consort Shu now in favor, she is not someone to be offended. Consort Shu, with the emperor and her children by her side, slept very soundly, and even had a very pleasant dream in the middle of the night. In her dream, Consort Shu saw that maid again, but this time, the maid's face looked peaceful, and she was taking a bowl from an old woman. Consort Shu saw that it was a bowl of soup, a green-colored bowl of soup, the same green color as her daughter's hands and feet. Before the maid drank the soup, she also saw Consort Shu, and hurriedly set the bowl aside, and toward the direction where Consort Shu was. She kowtowed 3 times. So she has gone to be reincarnated. That is wonderful. I hope in your next life you go somewhere where you can be your own master. Consort Shu offered her a sincere blessing. Early morning, Consort Shu opened her eyes with a faint smile on her lips. She reached out to touch the space beside her. Sure enough, it was already empty. Neither the child nor the emperor was there. But before Consort Shu could feel disappointed, a familiar voice reached her ears. You silly girl. Look at what time it is. Hurry up and get up. Consort Shu rubbed her eyes like a child, terrified that if she opened them again, her mother would be gone. Many times before, she had woken up to find her mother lecturing her by her side, only to reach out and grab at empty air when she tried to hug her. This time Consort Shu reached out to hug her mother again. The solid sensation of touch in her hands made Consort Shu burst into tears. Mother, is it really you? I've missed you so much. Silly girl, don't cry. This time Mother is here, and I'm not going anywhere. The Emperor has granted me permission to stay and keep you company during your confinement. Really? Haha, that is wonderful. Mother, let me tell you. I have so many things to tell you. Consort Shu spent the entire morning talking with her mother. She wasn't afraid of walls having ears. She was in favor right now. This was nothing to worry about. A favored consort should act like one. Days of contentment passed quickly. Under the meticulous care of her mother and grandmother, the two princesses reached their 1-month milestone. As early as half a month ago, Emperor Zongwen had already begun preparing the full-month banquet for his two daughters. On the 6th day of the 5th lunar month, the princesses turned 1 month old. Over this month, the two princesses ate well and slept well, growing up nice and chubby, except the eldest princess, who was still rather dark-skinned. The little princess is wearing a long gown to cover the birthmarks on her hands and feet. Early in the morning, Chuhua Palace was already bustling with activity. There will be many people today. You must keep a close eye on both children. Consort Shu's mother, the lady of Marquis Zhongyi, urged her daughter. Don't worry. The Emperor has already assigned Eunuch Shi and Nanny Lin to be by the princess's side today. No one would be so foolish as to cause trouble. Consort Shu understood the situation perfectly. She gave birth to two princesses, not princes. No matter how envious others may be, they wouldn't dare make a move while she and her daughters are still in the Emperor's favor. Your ladyship, the palace banquet is about to begin. His Majesty requests your presence and the princesses at the main hall. Consort Shu walked in the lead, with the children held by their respective wet nurses. Along the way, they heard many well wishes. Consort Shu entered the Qingyu Hall carrying the children. The Emperor descended from the high platform and took the little princess into his arms. Consort Shu then took the eldest princess back. Today's banquet has invited all the princes and nobles of the Tianqi royal clan, all the civil and military officials, and noblewomen from both inside and outside the palace. The Emperor and Consort Shu, each holding a princess, stood on the high platform to receive congratulations. I am overjoyed to have been blessed with two daughters, and I wish for the whole nation to celebrate with me. From this day forth, Tianqi will open its granaries to distribute food and reduce taxes. Ever since the seizure of Grand Marshal Liu's estate and the discovery of the vast wealth hidden there, Emperor Zongwen seemed to have unlocked his full potential. He has struck with thunderous force, raiding the homes of several corrupt officials. Now that he spares no one in his raids, Emperor Zongwen is certainly not short on funds. It is only fitting to use this wealth to ensure the people are fed and to accumulate blessings for the princesses. Great responsibilities have been placed upon me by heaven, and I shall see to it that Tianqi shines throughout history, so that the Tianqi dynasty may last for 1,000 generations. Long live the Emperor, 10,000 years. Today, on the princess's full-month celebration, I bestow upon the eldest princess the name Lin Lecho, to symbolize happiness and a life without worry, like the rising sun. Title: Princess Chuyang. The younger princess is named Lin Chenye, symbolizing sparkling starlight and a fresh, lovely charm. Title: Princess Xingyao. We thank your majesty for bestowing these names. Head eunuch, Shi Gong stood on the high platform and shouted for the feast to begin. The atmosphere was initially perfect, but there was bound to be an untimely voice that would ring out. Tianqi has ancestral teachings. Unless they are twins of the dragon and phoenix, one must be sent out of the palace. Your subject dares to ask, which princess does your majesty intend to send out of the palace? And when will she be sent? The grand hall fell into silence. No one dared to look up. Therefore, no one noticed that concubine Shu's expression showed not a hint of anxiety. Instead, she was calm enough to straighten the younger princess's clothes. She trusted the emperor. Everything the emperor has said, he has fulfilled. Emperor Zongwen knew that sooner or later someone would bring up the two princesses. It was better to address it himself than to let others do it. After all, ancestral customs are not easily broken. Thus, the person asking below had been arranged by Emperor Zongwen in advance, and was his loyal supporter, Prime Minister Wu. Do you know why the ancestral teachings require sending one twin away? Your subject does not know. It is for the stability of Tianqi. Since I ascended the throne, my heirs have been few. Therefore, these twin princesses shall not be sent away. Do you have any further objections? None at all. Although it was a stretch, everyone could see that this was most likely a staged performance by the emperor and the prime minister, who didn't know that the prime minister was on the emperor's side. Furthermore, with the emperor recently obsessed with confiscating the assets of corrupt officials, everyone was doing their best to stay out of the way, and no one wanted to run into the line of fire. But as for making the court officials believe that the princesses were bringers of fortune, it was about to happen right before their eyes. Someone at the banquet near a window shouted loudly, Dark clouds. It is dark clouds. The person who spoke had a tremor in their voice. Seeing the dark clouds, the elderly officials shed tears. Tianqi had not seen a single drop of rain for months. It is now early May, and if this drought continues, crops cannot be planted, and the future of Tianqi will be in peril. Emperor Zongwen stepped quickly out of the hall. Thunder crashed and lightning flashed in the sky, with a fierce wind blowing. It was a sure sign of heavy rain to come. Heaven has a heart that cherishes life, an auspicious omen from above. Heaven sends down sweet nectar to save the common people. Bean-sized raindrops struck the ground. Like the sky itself was tilting, the rain poured down in no time at all. All of Tianqi was enveloped in a thick curtain of rain. The earth finally received the rain it had long been deprived of. Fall even harder. The crops are finally saved. Prime Minister Wu was the first to kneel and shouted aloud, "This rain is a gift from the heavens to the princesses. Congratulations, Your Majesty, on the arrival of these blessed treasures. Congratulations, Your Majesty." No one noticed that the eldest princess held in the nurse's arms was opening and closing her little mouth, whispering, "By the order of the gods, let the rain come." This heavy downpour lasted from morning until evening. This rain confirmed the status of the two princesses as blessed treasures. The rain also temporarily resolved the crisis of the Great Tianqi drought. Chuhua Palace. Imperial Daddy, it is so boring here. I've already seen enough of the Imperial Garden. Consort Shu held the sleeping eldest princess, while Emperor Zongwen held the younger princess who was playing by blowing bubbles. Although both could hear the little princess's inner thoughts, Emperor Zongwen had explicitly stated, "We must keep it a secret from our daughter. If our daughter realizes we've been eavesdropping on her thoughts, she might stop sharing them altogether." Therefore, they both tailored their conversations to match her inner voice. "My lady, would you like to go out for a stroll? I'm thinking of leaving the palace to see the world and observe how the people are living." "Ah, mommy, hurry and agree with daddy. I really want to go out and look around." "Oh right. I haven't seen that totally oblivious guy from the Prime Minister's house in a while. That older brother is glowing with so much virtuous golden light. I even promised to help him find a partner." "Your Majesty, why don't we visit Prime Minister Wu's home? We owe it to him that the princess's full-month banquet went so well, and that the two little princesses were able to stay here so smoothly." Let's head to Prime Minister Wu's place then. I even promised to find a wife for his son, Wu Yi. Prime Minister's mansion. "Father, you said the Emperor is coming to our house, and he is bringing the consort, plus the two princesses." "Yes. He said he wants to see the lives of the people, and check how everyone is faring now that the rain has come. Oh, and the Emperor specifically requested your company, so you'd better behave yourself and stay home these next few days." Before Wu Yi could reply, the estate steward respectfully ushered several people inside. The Prime Minister was just about to kneel when the visitors arrived, but the Emperor, dressed in civilian clothes, shook his head. "I'm just a commoner right now. How could I let the Prime Minister kneel to me? Just call me Master Lin." "Greetings, Master Lin." "Greetings, Mistress Lin." Upon hearing that the Emperor had arrived in person, Lady Wu quickly brought her daughter Wu Qing to pay their respects. "Please everyone, don't be so formal. Leaving the palace this time is just to see how the people of Tianqi are getting on with their daily lives. Prime Minister Wu, you're quite well known, and too many people would recognize you. Let Wu Yi and Wu Qing accompany us instead." With the Emperor's order, assigned to accompany the royal tour, Wu Yi was absolutely thrilled. "My dad usually nags at me for being a loafer. He can't say that this time, can he?" "No problem at all, Master Lin. There isn't a single corner of this capital that I, Wu Yi, don't know like the back of my hand." "Not the capital. It is outside the capital for this undercover inspection." The Emperor and Wu Yi both rode horses, Consort Shu and Wu Qing, and two nannies, each holding one princess. The ladies traveled by carriage. As they were leaving the Prime Minister's estate, the eldest princess, who had been very quiet, suddenly struggled and reached hard toward the stone lion at the gate. Consort Shu thought she liked looking at it, so she specifically carried her over and let the eldest princess touch it. Then something jaw-dropping happened. The eldest princess gave it a gentle push, and the stone lion made of bluestone in front of the Prime Minister's residence toppled over. As the stone lion hit the ground, it made a loud crashing sound. "Wu Yi, I've told you before, don't be so frugal. For the Prime Minister of a country to be this shabby, having a fake stone lion at your gate is truly embarrassing. Samoan, have a pair of white jade lions sent to Prime Minister Wu to be placed at his gate." "Your Majesty, do you even hear how ridiculous you sound? But receiving a pair of lions as an imperial gift isn't so bad. Emperor Zongwen left with his entourage after saying this. He had always known his youngest daughter was quite capable. His eldest daughter could be no ordinary person. It was just that Emperor Zongwen didn't understand why his eldest daughter had slept quietly for over a month, and what possessed her to push over the Prime Minister's stone lion today. Do you have a grudge against stone lions? Prime Minister's study. Prime Minister Wu stares at the yellow talisman paper the butler placed on the table. This is what the servants found inside the stone lion while they were cleaning it. Prime Minister, I asked the master, what is this talisman? The butler hesitated, not daring to speak. Speak. What did the master say? Seeing Prime Minister Wu about to lose his temper, the butler had no choice but to speak. It is a lineage-breaking talisman. What? Say that again. Prime Minister Wu was fuming with rage. No wonder both his son and daughter refused to find partners. If there are no partners and no marriage, how can there be heirs? Isn't that effectively breaking the family line? Prime Minister Wu had found a very reasonable excuse for his son and daughter not finding partners. A perfectly logical explanation. Prime Minister, the master said this talisman is very malevolent. For any family on whom this is placed, all children born will not live past the age of 1. Prime Minister Wu asked the butler again, unwilling to give up. Do the young master and young lady refusing to find partners have anything to do with this talisman? The master's biggest worry was that these two grown children wouldn't get married. The master said this talisman has not yet taken effect. If any children in the household had been killed by the talisman's curse, it would have turned black. Prime Minister Wu looked at the yellowish scorched talismans and became furious again. Not finding a partner. The problem still lies with those two hopeless kids themselves. Understood. You may go. After dismissing the butler, Prime Minister Wu sat in his study in deep thought. First, this talisman must be handed over to the emperor. This cannot be hidden, nor can it be kept secret. The emperor likely already knows by now, since the grand princess was the one who found it. Secondly, who wants to harm my Wu family? To be able to do this without leaving a trace, there are only a few families capable of it, and if you exclude those recently raided, only the General of the North, the Marquis of the Founding, and Prince Gong. There could be others. But my intuition tells me the person who placed the talisman must be from one of those houses. Chancellor Wu tapped on the table, lost in thought. Meanwhile, Wu Yi had already led the emperor and his party out of the city. For this trip, Emperor Zongwen had entrusted the court affairs to Chancellor Wu. He could afford to be away for about half a month. So, the group didn't stop after leaving the city gates, continuing steadily to the north. Before the rains came, the drought was most severe in the north. Emperor Zongwen intended to see the situation for himself. Master Lin, we've been traveling for half a day now. Should we let the ladies out to rest? Good idea. I need to get out and catch some fresh air. Our little brother is so thoughtful, such a kind young man. I must find you a wonderful wife. Upon hearing his daughter speak, Emperor Zongwen readily agreed. My lady, let's get out and rest for a bit, and stretch your legs. Emperor Zongwen personally helped Consort Shu from the carriage, then reached in for the children. The two acted just like an ordinary couple. Consort Shu smiled gently. You must be tired too, my husband. Is riding a horse very exhausting? Not at all. It is a rare treat to get out, and I feel quite relaxed. As the group rested in the woods, a caravan of carts and horses approached. As they passed by, they kicked up clouds of dust and sand. Seeing this, the wet nurse, fearing the dust would choke the children, hurried to bring the princesses back into the carriage. Cough, cough. Consort Shu was still caught in the flurry, coughing uncontrollably. Once the carriages had passed, a short but handsome young man turned back from up ahead. Round face. Why are you here? Wu Yi looked surprised. How did this guy end up here? We have a shipment at home. It needs to be delivered to Shangqing County. It is an urgent delivery. I had to deliver it personally. The one called Roundface was Wu Yi's classmate. His name is Su Lian. He is 19 this year, 1 year younger than Wu Yi, and unmarried as well. Just like Wu Yi, he is a longtime bachelor. At the academy, they were often teased as the bachelor duo. Wah wah. I want to go out. Let me touch him. This round-faced brother's golden aura of merit is even brighter than Wu Yi's. He is so young, yet his golden aura of merit is shining so bright. Quick, let me see what earth-shattering things he has done. Wu Yi looked his classmate up and down, dressed in these plain clothes. You look even rounder and shorter. Su Lian curled his lip. I'm going to the county to deliver goods. Should I be wearing silk? You really are a spoiled young master who knows nothing of the real world. Wu Yi, where are you guys headed? We're also headed to Shangqing County. Emperor Zongwen answered first. His daughter wanted to touch the man, but there had to be a proper reason. travel together for now and look for an opportunity later. Though Wu Yi was confused. When it came to the emperor's words, he wouldn't dare to argue. And just like that, the royal undercover group joined the Su family's caravan. Along the way, Wu Yi remained cold and aloof. The round face he spoke of was quite outgoing, capable of responding to anything Wu Yi said. However, the closer they got to Shangqing County, Su Luan started to get a little nervous. This time, it was Wu Yi who was doing most of the talking. Brother Su, what is wrong? I really shouldn't be telling you this, but I'm afraid you might run into trouble if I don't. Oh. What is it that I shouldn't know? Emperor Zongwen's curiosity was piqued as well. Isn't your father the chancellor? This Shangqing County recently got a new magistrate, and he is a bit... Well, Wu Yi understood perfectly. Something is definitely fishy in Shangqing County. Brother Su is worried about causing trouble for his father. He would be worried under normal circumstances, but things are different now. Who is that next to him? The emperor, that is who. What does he have to be afraid of? Time to borrow some authority. Brother Su, speak your mind freely. If anything happens, I've got your back, you fool. It is people like you I'm worried about. You can't handle the situation. You'll just make things worse, and innocent people will get hurt. Zhang Chuang, the son of the Shangqing County magistrate, is a cruel man and extremely temperamental. We'll be fine as long as we just avoid him. My men have already looked into Zhang Chuang's schedule. He is going fishing in the west today, so if we enter from the east, we won't run into him. Is he really that wild? You have to check his itinerary before even entering the county, and then take a detour. Don't doubt it. 2 months ago, when his father was first transferred here, they hosted a banquet. And guess what happened? More than half of the local wealthy residents were carried out with severe injuries. Those who survived said that Magistrate Zhang dotes on his son excessively. At the dinner table, when Zhang Chuang saw the guests weren't eating, he thought the wealthy residents were looking down on them and felt insulted. He just stabbed the guy next to him right in the thigh with a chopstick. He almost left the poor man unable to have children. The other wealthy merchants were terrified. They tried to run out. Magistrate Zhang ordered his guards to suppress them with weapons. They forced the merchants to kneel in the middle of the hall and lined them up to be beaten by Zhang Chuang. It wasn't until Zhang Chuang got tired of hitting them that he finally let the merchants go. A magistrate could actually do such a thing. Didn't anyone report him to the authorities? Su Luan had long sensed from Wu Yi's attitude that this person's identity was extraordinary. Oh, they did. How could they not? But the magistrate didn't face any consequences at all. He just kept on serving as the local official. Slowly, the wealthy families finally realized that this magistrate wasn't someone to be trifled with. He has connections at the top. That is why he dared to be so reckless. After Emperor Zongwen heard what Su Luan said, he said quite seriously, I would actually like to meet this Zhang Chuang and see just how wild he can really be. The group traveled on and off like this, and in less than half a day, they reached Shangqing County. Once they entered the county seat, the group had been traveling for quite a while, and it had been a tiring journey. It was exactly lunchtime. Everyone, I've been to Shangqing County a few times, and I know a restaurant that is clean and hygienic. I'll treat you all to lunch today. Let's give it a try. When the Imperial Inspection Group saw what Su Luan called a clean and hygienic restaurant, they were shocked. This place, come on in. Don't let the small storefront fool you. The food is actually quite good. Their chilled wild greens are the absolute best. It didn't matter to Wu Yi where they ate. But could Master Lin handle this? This place, while called a restaurant, it is basically a mud shack with a few rickety tables set up inside. Emperor Zongwen saw that it was indeed quite crowded inside. He walked in first. I think it is perfectly fine. Let's eat here. Seeing him walk in, everyone followed him inside. The group found a corner and sat down, waiting for their meal. Do you all feel like they keep looking at me? Emperor Zongwen whispered to the group. At this moment, I had just woken up, and with my round eyes wide open, I looked around the room. My inner monologue went straight into complaint mode. Of course they're looking at you. Look at what everyone else is wearing. Tattered, ragged clothes. And what are you lot wearing? Imperial Daddy, look at how everyone else is sitting, and look at your group. Emperor Zongwen and consort Shu, having heard their daughter's thoughts, began to examine their surroundings carefully. It is true, although they were all dressed in coarse cloth garments, they were washed spotlessly clean, with no patches in sight. They were sitting with backs straight, prim, and proper. It didn't look like they were here to eat. It looked more like they were attending court. Consort Shu smiled. Sir, we must do as the locals do. After saying this, she relaxed her posture, letting her back slump, and placed her hands casually on the table, looking much more natural. These are wild greens that just sprouted after the heavy rain a few days ago. They're perfectly fresh and tender. You should all try some, Su Lian explained. There wasn't much Emperor Zongwen hadn't eaten in the palace, but he truly hadn't tasted greens this fresh before. The plate held the washed wild greens, with a bowl of egg paste set to the side. Su Lian saw that Mr. Lin was just looking and not picking up his chopsticks, and understood immediately. This gentleman doesn't know how to eat this. Mr. Lin, eat it like this. Su Lian picked up a mouthful of wild greens with his chopsticks, dipped them into the egg sauce, and popped them into his mouth. Then he shoveled in a big scoop of rice. It's especially delicious with rice this way. Wow, I want to eat that too. Daddy Emperor, let me smell it too. Emperor Zongwen took the little princess from the wet nurse, holding the child in one arm, and ate his meal with the other hand. Delicious. It has such a fresh, fragrant taste. Emperor Zongwen was enjoying himself. Boss, bring everyone a plate of meat. Put it on my tab. The atmosphere was just right. An old man nearby laughed, carrying his wine bowl, and approached Mr. Lin. Sir, the moment you walked in, I had my eye on you. I thought, dressed in such fine clothes, you must have taken a wrong turn and wouldn't come in. I never expected you to come in and even treat everyone to meat. The old man was quite outgoing. As he spoke, he gave Emperor Zongwen a slap on the shoulder. The slap made Wu Yi's legs go weak, nearly causing him to collapse to his knees. Emperor Zongwen wasn't angry. Instead, he was even happier. Boss, listen, I'm in a great mood today. Put everyone's bill on my account. My treat. Emperor Zongwen was truly happy. The simple nature of the common people and their interactions untainted by any ulterior motives, made this the first time since adulthood that Emperor Zongwen had eaten and drunk so relaxedly. It was also the first time Consort Shu had ever seen the emperor like this. Raise your bowls. Join in the fun. As the mood reached its peak, a group of men arrived at the door. The leader strode into the restaurant. Well, do you all have a death wish? Who gave you permission to laugh so loudly? The restaurant owner, along with everyone eating in the shop, upon seeing the arrivals, all knelt down to beg for mercy. Spare us, Lord Wang. We won't do it again. Seeing the undercover group still standing, the owner, not wanting to see these strangers suffer, gently tugged at the corner of Emperor Zongwen's robe, and whispered, Sir, kneel quickly. A wise man doesn't fight when the odds are against him. Would Emperor Zongwen kneel? Certainly not. Seeing this, the owner hastily crawled over to Lord Wang, pulled a small piece of silver from his tunic, and handed it over. Lord Wang eyed the group still standing there, took the silver, and backhanded the owner across the face. What is this? You think you can dismiss us with this pocket change? Get lost. Then he looked defiantly at Emperor Zongwen. Emperor Zongwen was done holding back, but just as he was about to act, Su Luan swiftly pressed down on the emperor's hand and whispered, Pardon me. He then quickly pulled 10 taels of silver from his own pocket and bowed while offering it to Lord Wang. My lord, please calm your anger. We are just passing through. Please, show some mercy. Use this money to buy some drinks for your men. Lord Wang tossed the money up and down in his hand before leading his men away, cursing as they went. Before leaving, he spat toward Emperor Zongwen. Emperor Zongwen watched the men leave and burned the faces of every single one of them, recorded them all in his mind. Only after the group had gone far away did the restaurant owner and the diners dare to stand up. Once they were up, none of them were in the mood anymore. The owner gave Emperor Zongwen an apologetic bow. I am sorry. Things here right now. If you have no other business, you should leave as soon as possible. Thank you. Emperor Zongwen looked at the owner's face, at the bright red handprint. Fury surged within him. After Wu Yi paid the owner some extra silver, the group walked out of the restaurant. This is exactly what I was afraid of. I didn't dare take you to the big restaurants. I didn't expect that even hiding in a place like this, we'd still be targeted. Wu Yi was also quite furious. Seeing there was more to what Suleiman said, he asked hurriedly, Sulian, what is going on exactly? Explain it to me clearly. Don't make me anxious. Seeing that Wu Yi didn't even call him Brother Su, but addressed him by his full name directly, he knew he was genuinely angry. Sigh. The way you're dressed makes you look like fat targets. You were definitely targeted the moment you entered the county. Shangqing County produces blue stone. Blue stone can be used for tabletops, rockeries, and stone lions. There are many wealthy families in the capital, and this place is close to the capital, making transportation convenient. Many stone merchants come here to buy blue stone. But ever since the new magistrate took office, Anyon, who is a visiting merchant, or someone passing through who looks wealthy, everyone, without exception, upon entering Shangqing County, will be detained by the authorities under various pretexts. Only after paying enough security deposit and promising not to cause trouble again will they be released. Bang! Emperor Zongwen kicked over the water bucket in front of him. Su Liuan, what exactly is this security deposit? Su Lian was startled by Mr. Lin's intense demeanor. The security deposit is basically like protection money. Once you pay the deposit, you can come and go as you please in Shanxing County. Just like the restaurant owner said, if you don't have any other business here, you should leave as soon as possible so you don't suffer a worse loss. After saying this, Su Liuan looked at the furious Wu Yi with deep concern. He understood Wu Yi all too well. He was a man of singular conviction. He couldn't stand a single grain of sand in his eyes. If something went wrong, he would be the first to step up. He truly worried about leaving Wu Yi in Shanxing County. Emperor Father, don't be angry anymore. Since we've arrived, everything in Shanxing County will be fine. I believe you will bring justice to the people. Emperor Father. Emperor Father, I want to go see how Round-Face Brother acquired his great karmic merit. Great merit means he must have saved many people. What kind of event could put so many people in danger at the same time? I want to see what is going on. Emperor Zongwen pondered for a moment. My daughter is right. We need to get to the bottom of this. Is there some kind of major crisis? Young Master Su, could you please hold my little daughter for a moment? I need to go relieve myself. Wu Yi, who had experience holding babies, stepped up to guide him. You need to support her here. Got it. As Wu Yi's hand brushed against Su Luan's hand, I clearly felt Round-Face Brother's body go rigid, and I even saw the tips of Round-Face Brother's ears turn suspiciously red. No way, no way. Round-Face Brother wouldn't actually like Wu Yi, would he? Wait, didn't Wu Yi mention earlier that they are the only two aging bachelors in the academy? Just as Wu Yi's hand was about to wrap around Su Lian's waist, Su Lian abruptly pushed the baby in his arms toward Wu Yi. I'm not very good at holding babies. You should hold her instead. With that, he turned and got on his horse. Hey you, always so impatient. Luckily I caught her quickly. Otherwise, she would have hit the ground. Emperor Zongwen and Consort Shu were pricking up their ears, listening in. As people who have been through it all, they hadn't noticed until their daughter pointed it out. Thinking back on the journey so far, Round-Face seems a bit strange around Wu Yi. Seeing that the person holding me had changed to Wu Yi, I couldn't reach Round-Face anymore. Touching Wu Yi would have to do instead. I struggled to break free from the swaddle, my little green hand reaching for Wu Yi's smooth chin. Wu Yi lowered his head, meeting these two green hands head-on. Check this out. Let me see, let me see. Was Wu Yi's super thin red thread connected to Round-Face or not? Yes, found it. Sure enough, Wu Yi's red thread is connected to Round-Face. No wonder the thread is so thin. So it is a same-sex love, unaccepted by the world. Even in the modern age, same-sex love is hard to be accepted. In this era of rigid morals and propriety, sigh, I feel so bad for you two. The golden glow of virtue on both of you is so bright. You're both such good people. Why would you choose such a difficult path for yourselves? Emperor Zongwen felt pity for them as he heard his daughter's thoughts. Daughter, did you forget to pity someone else? If Prime Minister Wu found out his only son likes men, oh my. He actually kind of wanted to see Prime Minister Wu's expression when he found out the truth. Emperor Zongwen was shocked by his own wicked sense of humor. When did he become this bored? Seeing his daughter starting to doze off again, Emperor Zongwen stepped forward from the side and announced to everyone, we won't be moving on. We'll rest and regroup in Qingshan County for the next few days. The Secret Service group wasn't surprised by the Emperor's decision, but Su Luan was startled. What are you people doing? Are you looking for a death wish? You have a perfectly good life. Why insist on looking for trouble? Seeing that the persuasion was useless, he could only suggest, then come with me. After all, I've been here a few times. Our family also has shops in Shanxing County. Just stay at the Suo family grain shop for these few days. At least I can keep an eye on you. As long as they were in Shanxing County, Emperor Zongwen had no objections as to where they stayed, and he also wanted to see how Wu Yi got along with Su Lisan. The group settled into the Suemli grain shop. That evening, Consort Shu took the children into the courtyard to cool off. Su Luan, having checked ledgers all day, also came out of his room. I finally caught the person I wanted to see. Babbling and gurgling, she wanted to reach Su Luan. Consort Shu understood exactly what her daughter was thinking and carried her over to where Su Luan was. Hello, Master Su. Would you mind helping me hold the baby? My arms. They're so sore from carrying her all day. Oh, sure. Su Lian was actually very fond of children ever since he was young due to certain reasons. He had few friends and often felt lonely. This time, her little green hands finally managed to reach him.